Hi guys, and first of all I want to say a huge thank you for everyone that voted on my Jesta versus Jet Fighter video. There was over 50 votes and the Jesta won by quite a margin. But don't worry if you voted for the Jet Fighter, over the next month or so I'll get round to editing and uploading that video. But this video concerns the Jesta, so we'll get started. I decided when starting to paint the Jesta I was going to work on one part at a time. So you've seen there I was working on just the body section. All the parts were due to be painted in a metallic finish, a prime first with VALLEJO's polyurethane grey primer. Just off camera I have some polystyrene. I place all the parts once painted with the polyurethane grey primer into the polystyrene, and as you can see there's a stack of parts ready to be painted, so I paint in like a production style. I personally haven't found a really good gunmetal colour from any manufacturer. VALLEJO's Model Air range has some great silvers and chrome metallics, but I don't like any manufacturers that I've personally found so far as gunmetal, so I'll mix my own using VALLEJO Model Air's chrome and adding some black to the mix. It darkens it up and it takes a little bit of the shine away as well. A really handy way of saving time is to use VALLEJO's coloured primers. It enables you to do the priming and the base coat all in one go. I've decided to go with a really dramatic colour modulation scheme on this, but I'm only going to be using two colours. Colour modulation normally requires many colours to see the overall result, but the contrasting colours that I've got here work so well together that I'm able to save time by using just two colours. All of the light blue plastic parts are painted in German dark yellow, but all of the dark blue plastic parts are painted in NATO green. It's going to leave a really nice contrast when we finished up painting the kit. Here I'm painting German dark yellow into the centre of the panels, but I'm leaving the NATO green behind in areas where shade and shadows would naturally form. see here on the side skirt armour that but I'm actually adding a gradient, so I'm spraying the airbrush at an angle just at the top of the panels. It's not realistic, but it looks really cool. All of the parts that have been painted in German dark yellow are getting the edges painted with NATO green. This is a contrast that I was talking about earlier on between the German dark yellow parts and the NATO green. So on the NATO green, I'm painting in the centre of the panels with German dark yellow, and on the German dark yellow parts, I'm painting all the edges with NATO green. So I'm painting them in a different style, but overall, when all the parts come together, it'll look really cool. I wanted to create dramatic colour modulation, so I'm using Tamiya masking tape here to mask off all the bottom angles, and I'm just going to be painting the top surface. I'm just painting the edges of the part and leaving the NATO green behind in the centre. It's going to leave a really cool effect. I highly recommend the Tamiya masking tape. I have tried to use cheap unbranded masking tape before and I had disastrous results, so sometimes it pays paying that little bit extra to get a quality product. am using some paper for masking, I'm just concentrated on the edges of the part and giving them an extreme highlight. Here I'm creating really high contrast colour gradients using the German dark yellow colour. Again, it doesn't look realistic, but it does look very cool. I'm always painting the German dark yellow in the centre panels of the part and leaving the nato green behind in the recesses. Notice me using my thumb as a paint palette. I touch the brush on my thumb and roll it around to get a really fine tip, and it also aids me with paint control. It looks messy, but this is just how I do things. The style of chipping I'm going for is really bold and over the top. I liken it to like comic books, extreme chips with really extreme hard edge highlights. If you wanted the chips to look more realistic, you'd do them a lot smaller than these chips. I do try to keep to a little bit of realism though, by making sure that most of the chips are going to be on the extreme hard edges of all the panels where chips would naturally occur. try to find the exact same angle to paint underneath on each of the chips where possible. It gives a coherent feel to it, and it makes the chips look a little bit more believable. This is a good example of what I mentioned earlier. The edges are getting really chipped up. I'm going to be adding some streaking and weathering to the Jesta. I'm very subtle with it. I use a fan brush with very splayed bristles, which helps when pulling it down to make really nice streaks. I dip the fan brush in some white spirit and then I pull down on the model, always in one direction, really smoothing out those streaks. I personally wanted to leave the most faintest streaks behind because I wanted to keep that comic book high contrast feel, but if you want it to look really weathered, you could easily make the streaks look more noticeable. For this video, I'm saying that the Jesta is complete, but there's still things that could be added to the Jesta to make it look even better, like weathering of the metallics, which I haven't done, and also adding different weathering effects. We'll probably go over this in a future video and we'll add some more effects to the Jesta, but for now we'll say it's done. I also want to thank you for watching the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit the like button and also share it amongst friends. And I'll catch you in the next one.